All right. So, what do Musk haters, Love is Blind stars, and Mahmoud Khalil have in common? They're all intolerant. And I want to get into this in this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Please make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble, Salem Podcast Network. We would so much appreciate that. All things social media, X, Instagram, and Facebook, por favor. Okay. So many stories that have broke this week. It's absolutely insane what we're seeing. The EPA has effectively ended the Green New Deal. That's a headline that's out there. Lee Zeldin has done a great job of just chopping things up. The Department of Education literally axed half of its staff with a goal and a mission to totally upend the Department of Education. I spoke about that earlier on the Dennis Prager show. I hope you had an opportunity to catch it. If not, I will be doing a podcast over the weekend explaining government shutdowns, why they really are no big deal, and the Department of Education, why it should be abolished. And I'll go into great detail and specificity. But the Department of Education, it's really not needed. I am convinced that students around or across the country would do much better without the Department of Education. And yes, that does include special needs children as well. The Department of Education is basically kind of I don't want to say quite a slush fund, but it favors teachers, unions, and adults more than it does the children. So anyway, we will save that topic for another day. But I just want to give you guys some headlines. You guys have heard the news, I'm sure, that egg prices are down 185 in less than 2 weeks. This, according to the Agriculture Secretary, hat tip Epic Times. Egg prices in the U.S. have dipped since the Trump administration unveiled a plan to combat bird flu and reduce costs. This, according to Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins on Tuesday earlier this week. She says, and I quote, "A good piece of news that we just got in the last day or two is that the average cost of a dozen eggs has now gone down 185 since we announced our plan about a week and a half ago." Now, why is this important? This is important because, listen, you eat eggs. Everybody eats eggs in some way, shape, or form. One of my buddies reminded me today, eggs, Christopher Hart of the American Adversaries, eggs are kind of like gasoline. Eggs are in, so many things that you cook. It's the same thing with petroleum. Or I shouldn't say gasoline, but like petroleum. I mean, it's in so many things you don't even think about. And so when the Biden administration ordered the killing or the murder of 100 million hens, and then they literally did that after the election. Their goal was for Trump to inherit a bad economy. That's what they wanted. That's what they wanted to happen. I believe in hopes that they would win the win the midterms in 2026. But so this doesn't bode well for them. And then after 4 months, you have you literally have inflation starting to go down slightly. So this is all good news. Last month, we heard for the month of February, for the first time in God knows how long, you had private sector jobs outpacing government jobs because you have Trump with the tariffs and trying to bring work back and manufacturing back to the United States of America. That's part of it. While at the same time, you have Doge cutting spending, federal government spending, and that includes employees, quite frankly. That's going to bring the rate of inflation down. So what Trump is doing is trying to transition us to a more private sector economy, a real economy, as he and Elon Musk calls it. And that's the way it is supposed to be. So there is some good news out there. And hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus, for that. But I do want to get to this. Gabe, if we could roll this clip. Now, I know some of you guys out there are like, Carl, you got to be kidding me. Love is blind. What's wrong with you, man? I don't want to waste my time on this, guys. You're not going to waste your time. I want to bring something to your attention. I really do believe this is the left. This is emblematic of the left, whether it's Musk haters. And by the way, let me say, all these people that are out there destroying Tesla dealerships, or at least Tesla cars and Tesla charging stations, it doesn't appear, at least as of yet, that they are destroying all of the dealerships as a whole. These guys are domestic terrorists, in my opinion. I'm sorry. They have a specific intention to intimidate. They're doing it with violence, destruction. I'm sorry. This is, in my opinion, this is domestic terrorism, and this is why this is, if when these people are caught, and Lord willing, they will be. In my opinion, that's what they should be charged with, so that this nonsense will stop. But I do want to start with Love is Blind. Let's go ahead and roll this clip. This is pretty. Listen, guys, this isn't going to be the funnest thing to watch, but I promise you I'm going to tie it together. Let's go ahead and roll it, please, Kate.
I love you so much. But I've always wanted a partner to be on the same wavelength. And so today I can't. I'm sorry, but I don't want that to be misunderstood. I still love you, and everything about you is amazing. Mm-hmm. And I care about you so much.
I care about you too. And I love you so much. And I know I want to stay with you and keep growing our relationship if you'll let me.
We'll see. We'll talk about that. Yeah. Okay. I love you.
I love you so much.
I know that the connection we have is so real, and my heart is there. But we talked about a lot of the values that I hold so close to my heart. Making this decision, my mind is telling me I can't.
Rise and fall right now. Something.
Are you okay? Okay. I'm okay. See me in the back. See me in the back. See me in the back. Okay.
Can you feel my heartbeat?
Oh my gosh. I'm fine. I'm fine. Get me out of here. No. You guys, really, I'm okay. I don't know. I feel kind of numb.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because it's sad. Like, I was really excited about Ben. And I'm like, he's such a great person. I just like...
What?
I just hope I made the right decision.
Hi, guys.
Oh my goodness.
I love you.
We
guys
love you.
too.
Yeah.
It was a lot, but we're rolling with it. I just want to talk to her. Yeah.
Was it like the time frame?
I mean, I knew the whole time coming into this, the time frame, like, that's not... Like, I feel like I know him. Like, really.
Yeah.
Like, I remember... Like, I asked him about, like, Black Lives Matter, and I'm no expert. But, like, when I asked him about it, he was like, I guess I never really thought too much about it. That affected me, especially in our own city. Like, how could it not? How did it not make you think about something? I asked him, too, like, what his church's views are, and he said he didn't know. And so then I watched a sermon online.
From his church.
About, sexual identity.
Okay.
And it was traditional. I told that to...
Pause right there, and then let's start it right back up. Gabe, let me know how much time I have, if you don't mind, por favor. I want you to I want you to understand what she just said. Traditional marriage was an issue. That was what his church upheld. All right, let's go ahead and finish rolling this video, please.
To Ben. And his thoughts on it. He doesn't really have much to say about it, you know? I want him to think about that stuff. Sometimes I did wonder if it was surface, fun, carefree love that we had. Equality, religion, the vaccine.
Okay, the vaccine. Okay, so this girl is a social justice warrior. And I'm telling you, I'm not the first to say it. Plenty of people have said it, but I said it when I saw the show that evening. This guy dodged an absolute bullet, but he wasn't the only one. I'm not sure. There was a black couple that I mean, I thought were a dynamic duo together, and they didn't make it as well. And frankly, I got to be honest with you guys. I don't know the names of these characters, but I want you to listen. I mean, as you listen to that video, and again, I'm going to tie this all in together, so don't go anywhere. With Mahmoud Khalil, also with the haters of Elon Musk and what they're doing, how this is all about intolerance. And this is emblematic of who the left is. The tolerant people are not intolerant. I mean, are not. The people that claim they're tolerant are intolerant. Everything this girl said was about virtue signaling. Everything she said was completely fake. Everything she said let you know that she doesn't know who she is as a person, and she's validating views of people she more than likely doesn't know, with the exception of her sister, who I believe, if I recall correctly, happens to be gay. And so she says that she was in love with this person, this guy. She hopes that she didn't make the wrong decision. She made the wrong decision. And as long as she's as woke as she is, she will never be able to make the right decision. This isn't a lady that is ready for marriage. This isn't a lady, in my opinion, at least right now, that is worthy of marriage. This guy dodged an absolute bullet. She is an intolerant bigot. And she doesn't understand the damage that she's done. This lady will never be happy. She will never find the right man. And I blame it on the left for destroying her mind and making her an intolerant being. She said she listened to his church. They talked about traditional marriage. She didn't like that. She was trying to have a traditional marriage. We'll be back. Guys, Carl Jackson here for My Pillow, and My Pillow is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on their overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, you can save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. The queen size is only $59.98 and the kings are only $69.98. But they sell out fast every year, so be sure to order now. You can also save 30% on their brand new Mike crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one that Mike has worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's styles, and they're made right here in the good U.S. of A. Get the 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities are extremely low, so get them before they or while they last. And I can't forget to mention the My Pillow. It's just $14.98. So to take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to mypillow.com, use promo code Carl, or give them a call at 800-858-0263. 800-858-0263 is the number to call in. But wait, remember that $75, the $75 free shipping rule. So, that ship is sailed, because right now, for a limited time, every order ships free. That's right. Every order ships free. MyPillow.com, promo code Carl, or give them a call at 800-858-0263. All right, so welcome back to the show. I told you I would tie this stuff in together, but I want you to understand who the left is and who they've become. We just watched this young lady that was, apparently this was the man of her dreams. They had sat in pods. This is what this show is about. You sit in pods. I don't know how long that goes on, but they sit in pods and they talk to people that are participating in the show. Guys go into the pods where girls are. There's a wall that divides them, so they don't get to see each other, and they build a relationship. They fall in love, and then the guy proposes to the girl, so on, etc. And then they come out, and then it's a lovely day, and then they go to the altar, plan this wedding. They go to the altar, but they spend some time together in between, and then once they get to the altar, they say either I do or basically I don't, and that's what you saw. And that girl claimed that she wanted to say I do, but they had gone on a camping trip beforehand, and she started questioning him about his views, including George Floyd, because they're in Minneapolis, So of course you've got to be woke, and like I'm saying, this is the left. They have no tolerance for different worldviews. This is a girl, and they're so confused. This is a young lady that said that was involved in a show where she was looking to get married to a man. That's called a traditional marriage. But she had a problem with his church because they believed in traditional marriage. This is a girl that is more concerned about looking good to the world instead of knowing who she is in Christ. It's really a sad state of affairs. But what didn't get enough attention, or who didn't get enough of attention, was a black couple. And there was a article on the Daily Signal, Love is Blind and Intolerant, too, apparently. But I want to read you the quote from this black couple. Now, I thought that they would make it, and they, the black couple, the woman, same thing. She held social justice views as well. This young white lady, as you saw, she was in the BLM and You heard her mention the vaccine. So all of the things that the lefties love. Now, never mind the fact that every single one of these things have been exposed as frauds, including Black Lives Matter, which was only a conduit to Act Blue, a fundraising organization by the left that's basically collapsing right now. I got a story on that I'll share later, either in this podcast or another. But that was a scam. You got the founders of that got rich, and then Democrat donors siphoned off the rest to fund Democrat races. That was a complete and utter scam. And now we know about COVID-19 and the way that it was used, the lockdowns, and how Fauci knew all along that all of the stuff that he was recommending was he just thought of out of thin air. But I want you to understand just who the left is. These people are completely intolerant and they're completely bigoted. The black couple, the woman said, she said, I asked him too, like, what was your church's views? What his church's views are. And he said he didn't know. Okay, actually, this is the white woman. So then I watched a sermon online about sexual identity. That's what it was. And it was traditional. She said, so why even bother going through this nonsense? I mean, obviously they're under contract, so they have to see it through to the end, but it makes no sense. And then there was another couple. Devin said he was raised conservative in a household, and he just asked me if I voted with my faith in mind. Now, I believe this is the black couple that I'm talking about. We don't have the video, but I want to share with you. I really thought this couple could make it, and they would be a dynamic duo, even more than the couple that you just witnessed. And then the black woman said, I still don't feel really comfortable saying Devin's views, but I'll tell you about mine. I believe that women should have the decision to choose if they want to have an abortion or not, she said in the reunion episode, explaining to an audience why she ultimately said no. And it was so crazy because both of them proclaimed to be Christians. Now, the young man, he was 28, she was 33, so a few years older than him. But he said his family was more conservative leaning, both black. Actually, he was biracial. I believe they both were biracial. But his family was more conservative leaning. Her aunt was some type of preacher, not a priest, but a preacher in some type of Christian church. And I knew right then, I knew she was woke. I mean, right then. And sure enough, that came to be. So she decided not to marry him because she's a Christian, but she happens to believe in abortion. So she broke this guy's heart because he thought for sure the way that they were talking that they were going to get married. This guy was so brokenhearted. He cried at the altar. It was unbelievable. These women have been trained by the left. These women will never find happiness as long as they're women of the left. All the things that they say they want are antithetical to the worldview of the left. Everything they want. Traditional marriage, kids. She wants to be able to decide whether or not she wants to have an abortion if she's married. This is who the left is. They're confused. They don't have an identity. They simply don't know who they are. They virtue signal. They look for validation from everyone except God above. All right, enough of that. Let's move on. I want to talk about this guy, Mahmoud Khalil, because apparently there's a belief that Mahmoud Khalil, Gabe, what is that? And I'm sorry, there's a belief that he can't be deported, and that couldn't be further. From the truth. He can be deported. For those of you that don't know, may not be aware, Mahmoud Khalil is basically a terrorist, in my opinion. He's been the antagonizer. He's been leading these so-called protests on Columbia University. The same is true for Barnard College. Now you have the Trump administration coming out and saying, we're going to deport this guy. They had arrested him. They're set to deport him. Apparently, he married a citizen. They had a baby, but he's still technically a non-citizen, and so he's going to be deported. Senator Marco Rubio spoke about this eloquently. Gabe, do we have that video? Let me know if we have it. If not, it's the very last one that I sent. It's not on the cut. Okay, let's roll this. This is what Marco Rubio had to say about this guy, and he's absolutely right. This guy should be deported. Let's roll it.
President Trump appealed to a lot of Americans during his campaign on free speech arguments and not suppressing speech, especially from the government. But your revocation of the green card, to many, is seen as one of the most anti-speech actions a secretary can take with his powers. How do you respond?
Yeah, when you enter this is an important point, and I'm glad you asked this question. When you come to the United States as a visitor, which is what a visa is, which is how this individual entered this country, as on a visitor's visa, okay, you are here as a visitor. We can deny you that visa. We can deny you that if you tell us when you apply, hi, I'm trying to get into the United States on a student visa. I am a big supporter of Hamas, a murderous, barbaric group that kidnaps children, that rapes teenage girls, that takes hostages, that allows them to die in captivity, that returns more bodies than live hostages. If you tell us that you are in favor of a group like this, and if you tell us when you apply for your visa, and by the way, I intend to come to your country as a student and rile up all kinds of anti-Jewish student, anti-Semitic activities, I intend to shut down your universities. If you told us all these things when you applied for a visa, we would deny your visa. I hope we would. If you actually end up doing that, once you're in this country on such a visa, we will revoke it. And if you end up having a green card, not citizenship, but a green card as a result of that visa while you're here in those activities, we're going to kick you out. It's as simple as that. This is not about free speech. This is about people that don't have a right to be in the United States to begin with. No one has a right to a student visa. No one has a right to a green card, by the way. So when you apply for a student visa, or any visa to enter the United States, we have a right to deny you for virtually any reason. But I think being a supporter of Hamas and coming into our universities and turning them upside down and being complicit in what are clearly crimes of vandalization, complicit in shutting down learning institutions. There are kids at these schools that can't go to class. You pay all this money to these high-priced schools that are supposed to be of great esteem, and you can't even go to class. You're afraid to go to class because these lunatics are running around with covers on their face, screaming terrifying things. If you told us that's what you intended to do when you came to America, we would have never let you in. And if you do it once you get in, we're going to revoke it and kick you out.
Excellent. 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 I'm telling you, this guy was made for this. He was made for this. I think he makes a better Secretary of State, frankly, than he did a senator, in my opinion. But listen, this guy, Mahmoud Khalil, again, he's perpetuating all of these so-called protests at Columbia University and Barnard College. I mean, Jews are scared to go to class. They're being intimidated, and in some cases, attacked. Are you kidding me? That's what you call protest? That is not protest. And that guy needs to go pretty quickly, pretty rapidly. And as a matter of fact, he can go legally. The Federalist wrote a column on this. It's about the Immigration Nationality Act. It codified. It's called. Section 8 U.S. Code, subsection 1182 applies to all aliens, meaning, quote, any person not a citizen or national of the United States. This term includes both visa holders and green card holders alike, which Khalil is. And I'll get into the specificities. We got to take a quick break or a quick pause here, but I'll get into the specificities of that particular law because it is lawful to kick that fool out of the country, and as well we should. We'll be back. Okay, so getting back to this Mahmoud Khalil, an intolerant bigot, a Hamas. To me, there's little to no difference between a Hamas terrorist in Gaza and this guy here, Mahmoud Khalil, that came to the United States. Again, tried to marry in so he didn't have to leave. Went to Columbia University. He did his undergraduate in Beirut. Comes here, he causes a ruckus, and a lot of people are out there, people on the left, and liberals and mainstream media out there saying this guy can't be kicked out. You had a federal district judge, there we go with that again, blocking Trump's order to deport this guy. I am convinced this guy will be deported, and I am convinced that many more will be deported, and they should be deported. Getting back to this Immigration and Nationality Act, again, the INA, as it's called, codified at 8 U.S. Code, subsection 1182, applies to all aliens. Now, that means, again, any person not a citizen or national of the United States. This term includes both visa holders and green card holders alike. The INA contains a number of activities for which a person can be deemed ineligible based on security and related grounds. The relevant subsection contains 9 grounds related to terrorism, the majority of which are not controversial at all. Members of terrorist organizations, which are people engaging in terrorism, etc. This applies to them. The current debate concerns subsection 212A3B 1 7, which allows for the deportation of any alien who, quote, endorses or espouses terrorist activity or persuades others to endorse or espouse terrorist activity or support a terrorist organization such as Hamas. This guy was passing around Hamas flyers on campus that was handed to him. The Federalist goes on. Some have claimed that deporting someone for these reasons violates the First Amendment. This is incorrect. The premise of the question rests on the assumption that an alien, even a legal alien, has First Amendment rights that are exactly the same in every situation as the rights of a U.S. national or citizen. And that is not the case under the law. As the Supreme Court has made clear, sometimes the government may impose distinctions and conditions, and that is exactly what is happening. This guy needs to go. He doesn't belong here. When you come to the United States isn't a place about, it isn't that diversity is our strength. Unity is our strength. And any fool coming here with a green card that claims they want to be an American, and all he's doing is stoking up anti-Semitism, inciting riots. I don't believe these are protests by any stretch of the imagination. They do not belong here. They do not deserve the United States of America. His wife is here. She's an American citizen. He's impregnated her. Send them all back together. She can stay. He can go, but he needs to go. And she was dumb enough to marry this guy. That's on her. That's the way that I see it. We should not tolerate this stuff from these foreigners that come into our country just to stir up division. So adios. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. I mean, this guy has all types of ties to Hamas. And I wouldn't doubt that he's being paid by Hamas, by Iran. I wouldn't doubt it for one single bit. I do want to make mention of this before we move on to Elon Musk, because there was some good news as well that occurred today, or actually yesterday, on the front with Russia and Ukraine. You guys may have heard the news that both, well, not both, but at least Ukraine has agreed to a ceasefire. As long as Russia is willing to do so as well. And I think that bodes well. Now, I got to admit, Trump cut off foreign aid, and that was tough for Ukraine. And then he cut off intel, which was even tougher, because you knew Ukrainians were going to die as a result of that. And I got to admit, even I was like, ooh, that seems so harsh. But ultimately, Trump got the results that he wanted, and I think it's for the better for all parties that are involved. So now, what we witnessed last week or a couple of weeks ago, when you saw Zelensky cause a ruckus, they went to Saudi Arabia. Things worked out swell. You had the Ukrainian delegation. You had Secretary of State Marco Rubio. I believe it was NSA director. I believe that's his title. Tim Walz, and they were able to hash out a deal with Ukraine. Ukraine is willing to, they said that they want peace, and they proposed 3 measures to advance that peace process. The first being that they would halt missile strikes against Russia, long-range drone attacks, other forms of aerial bombardment. Secondly, Zelensky said that he would halt fighting between Russia and Ukraine forces at sea. And third, they said that they would advance the peace process. Zelensky called for increased exchanges of military prisoners of war and civilian detainees on both sides of the conflict. So this is good news on top of the economic news. Now, listen, the deal hasn't been made yet. The ceasefire has not been codified, so to speak. But I started believing, or I started thinking, last night, I was like, you know what? I think Trump really knew what he was doing in that Oval Office. I don't think it's necessarily 3D chess, but he said he wanted us to see. But I think he wanted Vladimir Putin to see as well. when you sit and think about it. Everyone's saying that Trump is a Putin stooge, and nothing could be further from the truth. So Vladimir Putin was making fun of Zelensky, basically, based upon that blow up in the Oval Office. But it seems to me what Trump did is he isolated Zelensky. He got the deal that he wanted with him. And now he's turning to Putin and saying, you're next. You're next. So I think that's pretty cool. And along with that, you have an envoy that headed to a special envoy that headed to Qatar this week to negotiate between Israel and Hamas. We will see how that turns out. But Steve Witkoff landed in Qatar on Tuesday to join in direct talks between Israel and Hamas aimed at extending the current ceasefire in Gaza. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But listen, I think the Trump administration, things are going, they're regaining respect around the globe. And actually, that includes the tariffs, too. I mean, yesterday we were talking about tariffs. Canada was threatening more tariffs. Trump says, I'm going to double the amount of tariffs on aluminum and steel. And within a couple of hours, Canada was backing away from their tariffs. I mean, this stuff is working, but it's going to take time. All right, let me go to this. Let's play that. Let's play cut number. I think it was, which Elon cut to play Gabe. I'm confused on which one it is at this point. But let's roll it because the left is intolerant. I want you to understand everything that's happening to Elon Musk. Understand that the left was really never into climate change. If they hate Elon Musk, if they hate Tesla, it proves to me that all of this climate change nonsense was just about virtue signaling. It was never about climate change. It was about virtue signaling, and it was about controlling you. Let's roll this. Elon Musk at the White House.
Hello, President Trump. Are you looking to buy or lease today?
Well, I'm going to buy. And I'm going to buy because, number one, it's a great product, as good as it gets. And number two, because this man has devoted his energy and his life to doing this. And I think he's been treated very unfairly by a very small group of people. And I just want people to know that you can't be penalized for being a patriot. And he's a great patriot. And he's also done an incredible job with Tesla. And, I mean, nobody else has a car company started up in the last 30 years that's been successful. I don't think so. And not only successful, but super successful. And because he's able to find billions and billions and billions of dollars of fraud and waste and all of the things. I mean, our country is going to be very strong very soon because of a lot of the things that he's done and a lot of the things that I'm doing. And there's no better team, but there's no better for what we're doing. There's nobody like this, and he shouldn't be penalized. And when I watched the other day, I said, I can't believe it. It should be the opposite. People should be going wild, and they love the product, but because he's finding all sorts of terrible things that have taken place against our country, they want to penalize him in an economic sense. And I just think that's very unfair. So I just wanted to make a statement. I'm going to buy one. Now, here's the bad news. I'm not allowed to drive because I haven't driven a car in a long time, and I love to drive cars. But I'm going to have it at the White House, and I'm going to let my staff use it. I'm going to let people at the place use it. And they all are all excited about that. I'm not allowed to use it. Can you believe it? One of my great things in life is that I can, I like to drive cars, but I'm not allowed
to. That's funny, but I'm glad he did that. I am so glad that he did that. Listen, this guy, he's hated only because he's helping the federal government expose waste and abuse that is going to help every single American, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, a libertarian, if you're in the Green Party, it is going to help every single American. What's happening in Washington, D.C. is highway robbery. I was looking at, and I'm not even sure I can find it at this point on my phone, but I was just looking at some more discoveries. This is every day. Every day, Doge is discovering something new. Oh, here it is. Doge cancels NIH grants to prevent pregnancy in transgender boys. So Doge cancels $620,000 for an LGBT plus inclusive teen pregnancy prevention program for transgender boys, $699,000 for studying cannabis use among sexual minority, gender diverse, $740,000 for examining social networks. The left hates him because he opened the doors for free speech. He's no longer on their side. He's on America's side, and they're not having it. They're intolerant. It's as simple as that.